As the rusted, venerable hull of the Celestial Nomad sliced through the nebulous outskirts of uncharted space, I couldn't shake the blend of exhilaration and trepidation that gripped me. Our crew, a patchwork family of 5 space miners, had grown accustomed to the void's silence and the relentless hum of the ship's engines. But this planet, this rogue wanderer knocked from its cosmic path, presented a mystery that not even our collective years of mining and experience could immediately dispel. The planet loomed before us, a ghostly orb against the star-studded blackness. It was a world untethered, surviving on the geothermal warmth pulsing from its core, an unlikely oasis in the cold expanse. Its surface, a tapestry of ice and stone, whispered promises of untold riches to those daring enough to listen. Our descent was cautious, guided by the Nomad's time-worn sensors, and the steady hands of Lucas, our pilot, whose laugh could outshine the bleakness of any void. The landing craft's thrusters painted golden arcs on the snow as we touched down, the silence of the planet enveloping us like a shroud. The first steps on the surface were marked by the crunch of snow under heavy boots, our time-worn suits giving us just enough warmth as not to freeze. We set up our mining equipment, the drills and extractors standing as foreign monoliths against the desolate landscape. The work was hard, our old drill biting into the planet's crust, unearthing minerals that gleamed with promise under our lamp's artificial daylight. The extractor whirred as the planet's soil piled through the tube and into our ship's containers. But as the days stretched into one another, a strange unease began to weave itself into our routine. It was in the way the shadows seemed to watch us, and how the silence felt heavier than before. We joked, laughed, and worked, the planet offering its treasures with silent generosity, but the unease remained, an uninvited guest at our camp. Then the breach alarm shattered our routine, a shriek in the silence that had us sprinting back to the Nomad. The storage container, our hoard of extracted minerals, stood open, its contents undisturbed but for the clear signs of external tampering. Someone had opened it from the outside. Accusations flew, masked as questions, the seeds of distrust sown by an unseen hand. As we stood there, in the shadow of our ship, under the gaze of a billion distant stars, the camaraderie that had been our anchor began to fray. The planet, with its hidden warmth and secrets, watched in silence as the first cracks appeared in the bond that had kept us together through the void's embrace. The breach had sown a seed of paranoia within our ranks, its roots entwining around our camaraderie, suffocating the trust we had in each other. Each of us carried the weight of suspicion, our gazes lingering a moment too long, searching for signs of betrayal in the faces we had known for years. The atmosphere aboard the Celestial Nomad grew thick with unspoken accusations, the air charged with a tension that was alien to the confines of our metal sanctuary. It was during these strained days that I noticed the subtle changes among us. There was Ethan, our engineer, whose once jovial demeanor had been replaced by a quiet introspection, his eyes darting away whenever they met another's. Maya, the geologist, her passion for the secrets of the rocks undimmed, now worked in solitude, her laughter no longer echoing through the corridors. Zoe, our medic, had become our unspoken peacekeeper, her attempts to bridge the gaps met with polite nods and mumbled assurances that everything was fine. I found myself drifting into the role of observer, watching the fraying edges of our team with a sense of detachment that felt foreign. My nights were restless, the silence of the planet creeping into my dreams, whispering of darkness and depths unfathomed. And it was during one of these sleepless nights as I stared at the ceiling of my cabin that I first heard it. A voice, soft and indistinct as if carried by the wind from a great distance. At first, I believed it to be a trick of my exhausted mind, a hallucination born from isolation and stress. But the voice persisted, growing clearer with each passing night, its words still unintelligible, but its presence undeniable. I kept this to myself, fearing that sharing my experiences would only add fuel to the fire of mistrust that had engulfed us. Our mining operations continued, a semblance of normalcy in our routine, the only barrier against the complete collapse of our team's cohesion. We worked in silence, the sounds of our machinery and the crunch of snow underfoot, the only proof that we had not succumbed entirely to the void's call. It was during a routine excavation that the container breach was finally addressed. "We need to talk," Lucas said, his voice cutting through the cold air, pulling us away from our tasks. There, in the shadow of the Celestial Nomad, we confronted the elephant in the room. Accusations were made, defenses raised, the trust we once took for granted shattered beyond recognition. And amidst the heated words, the voice in my head whispered, its message still unclear, a puzzle demanding to be solved. As the days melded into a blur of mining and restless nights, the voice in my head became a constant companion. At first, its murmurs were like the distant whispers of a dream, easily dismissed in the light of day. Yet, as time wore on, its words began to crystallize, forming coherent sentences that echoed in the hollows of my mind with unnerving clarity. "Ignore the shadows," it whispered one night as I lay awake, staring into the darkness of my cabin. "Seek the light of home." The advice, cryptic yet oddly comforting, became a mantra I clung to, a beacon amidst the growing storm of distrust and paranoia that had seized the crew of the Celestial Nomad. Our operations on the planet's surface had become strained, each of us ensnared in our own web of thoughts and suspicions. Yet, in an unspoken agreement, we continued our work, the need to fulfill our mission outweighing the personal turmoil that plagued us. The planet, with its icy veneer and geothermal warmth, remained indifferent to our plight, a silent witness to the unraveling of human resolve. It was during an expedition to a new mining site that the voice's presence grew overwhelming. "Return," it urged, its tone imbued with an urgency that sent shivers down my spine. I stopped in my tracks, the biting cold forgotten, as the voice filled my senses. It was then, in that moment of vulnerability, that I dared to voice my secret companion. "I hear it too," Lucas confessed, his admission slicing through the tension that had blanketed us. One by one, the others revealed their own experiences with the unseen voice, each account a variation of the same theme: warnings, pleas, cryptic advice that had guided and tormented us in equal measure. The revelation that we were all hearing the voice shattered the remaining barriers between us. Our shared experience, bizarre and inexplicable, became the catalyst for a renewed sense of unity. We gathered in the common area, a makeshift council convened in the heart of our steel cocoon, to share our stories and piece together the puzzle that had been presented to us. The voice, we concluded, was not a product of our imagination or a symptom of space-induced psychosis. It was real, an entity or force that had chosen to communicate with us for reasons unknown. Resolved to heed the cryptic warning, we chose departure over delay, eager to escape before our fortunes could darken further. Prior to leaving, we meticulously inspected the ship, adopting a buddy system to ensure that our mysterious stowaway found no passage with us. Assured that only our crew populated the vessel, we cast off from the planet's grip, steering towards the unknown yet hopeful for safer horizons. As we set a course for the nearest port, the planet receding into the darkness behind us, the voice offered one final piece of advice, its tone imbued with a sadness that resonated deep within my soul. "Beware the shadows you carry within," it whispered, a warning that left us pondering the true nature of our unseen guide as the Celestial Nomad sailed onwards, towards an uncertain future. The fabric of space stretched infinitely around the Celestial Nomad, its journey back to civilization shadowed by the memory of the voice that had penetrated our minds. This shared mystery had united us, binding the crew with a thread of curiosity and apprehension. But somehow the feeling of this being did not seem to dissipate. While the voice may have been gone, the feeling of being invaded was still there. I was not alone with this feeling. My comrades had felt the same. The entity, once a voice in the darkness, was now a tangible presence aboard our vessel. Our determination to unearth the entity lurking within the Celestial Nomad's external collectors quickly morphed from mere concern to an unsettling dread. The atmosphere grew thick with tension, akin to that felt by explorers on the edge of a vast and uncharted darkness, about to step into the void. The entity did not leave us in suspense for long. Ethan's voice, laced with fear, suddenly pierced the silence, beckoning us with urgent cries for assistance. Propelled by a surge of adrenaline, We hastened towards the source of his alarm. What we encountered upon arrival sent shivers down our spines. An uncanny, otherworldly glow bathed one of the life support machines, casting shadows that seemed to twist and writhe against the walls. To our horror, the being materialized from the heart of our machinery. It was a spectacle that straddled the line between fascination and the grotesque, its form an eerie dance of light and shadow that defied the laws of nature as we knew them. With each phase of its emergence, the air around us seemed to thicken, charged with an electric fear that clung to our skins like a second layer. Its presence was an affront to reality, a creature of impossible light that flickered in and out of visibility, casting unsettling shadows that played tricks on the eyes and mind. This was no mere anomaly of space. It was as if the darkness itself had coalesced into form and substance, a phantasm born from the void that stretched its tendrils towards the realm of the living. The horror lay not just in its alien form, but in the realization that it had been with us, unseen, lurking in the very systems that kept us alive. What had we brought aboard from the cold reaches of space? The uncertainty of its intentions, coupled with the unearthly manner of its existence, set our hearts racing, a primal fear awakened by the presence of a predator in the darkness. This was a discovery that transcended the bounds of scientific curiosity, plunging us into a narrative of cosmic horror, where we were far from the heroes of the story, but mere mortals caught in the gaze of an entity beyond our comprehension. Before the full weight of our discovery could sink in, tragedy unfurled amidst a tumult of fear and confusion. In the claustrophobic confines of the Celestial Nomad, where every shadow seemed alive now, a heated debate erupted over the fate of our unexpected visitor. Lucas, our pilot, who had navigated us through the celestial maelstroms and asteroid fields with unwavering confidence, succumbed to a moment of panic. A shadow flitted at the edge of his vision. His reaction was instinctual, a reflex honed by too many close calls in the void. His firearm boomed through the corridors, a death knell that would forever echo in our hearts. Ethan, our engineer, the brilliant mind whose laughter had once filled our vessel, crumpled to the ground, his blood a stark contrast against the sterile metal. The image of his life ebbing away on that unforgiving floor, his eyes wide with shock and betrayal, is something that will haunt my dreams for eternity. Grief-stricken and tethered to the edge of reason, we pursued vengeance with a fervor born of loss. Our mission to secure the ship became a hunt, driven by the raw ache of Ethan's absence. It was in one of the labyrinthine corridors, where the stark lights cast long shadows, that our vendetta reached its climax. Overcome by a maelstrom of rage and sorrow for Ethan's untimely demise, I unleashed a barrage of energy bolts at the creature. The discharge of my weapon tore through the silence, bathing the corridor in a harsh, revealing light. The being, caught in the tempest of our fear and anger, shimmered with an ethereal pain and fear, its form flickering between our realm and one unknown. As the creature lay wounded, its resilience dimming, it reached out to us, not with vengeance, but with a depth of sadness and empathy that pierced the fog of our grief. "I am the last," it imparted, its essence mingling with ours in a poignant communion of souls. My odyssey was never meant to bring harm, only to seek a moment of connection in the vast loneliness of the cosmos. My world, once cradled by the warmth of a sun, now wanders lost in perpetual night. My only desire was to bask once more in the glow of your star, to recall the light before I vanish into the eternal dark. This confession, shared in a moment laden with shared grief and understanding, shifted the tides of our despair. The creature's longing for a mere whisper of sunlight in the boundless chill of the void resonated within us, a mirror to our own yearnings for warmth and light in the darkness. In its final moments, despite the wounds we had inflicted, it bestowed upon us a gift of forgiveness, urging us to look beyond the shadows of our fears and to cherish the ephemeral beauty threaded through the fabric of the cosmos. With somber resolve, we granted the creature its last wish, releasing it into the vast embrace of the universe. As its essence faded into the cosmic ballet, the Celestial Nomad resumed its voyage home. The emptiness of space stretched around us, a vast canvas of silence and stars, bearing witness to our actions and the profound lessons etched into our souls by the depths of our journey into the unknown.